Hello, my dears, and welcome to another episode of the Spa Marketing Made Easy podcast. I am super excited to be here today because I have a very, very special guest, someone that I've been really looking forward to interview because she has so much knowledge to share. I have Kimberly Spreen-Glick. She is a yoga instructor. She's been in the health and fitness arena for the past 25 years. She is the founder of the Make a Difference Academy. She is a trainer for yoga instructors and fitness instructors, really teaching them how to build their business, but in a healthy and sustainable way, that you're not getting this burnout. And I felt like her knowledge and expertise would be excellent for estheticians and aesthetic experts, because we're in the service industry as well. And we tend to get really burnt out in what we do because so much of what we do is this transfer of energy to our clients, to our patients. And Kimberly is just an expert in really helping her clients create that space where they can stay balanced so that they can transfer their energy to their clients as well. So, Kimberly, I hope I did an okay job explaining what
I'm
you
suddenly
do,
quite tired, actually.
So thank you so much for being here. I'm super excited about this episode. Now, before the show, we had chatted that you're going to be sharing 3 different ways that estheticians and aesthetic experts, 3 different things that they can do to really help balance themselves, to help kind of maintain their energy, to keep I guess balance is what I keep going back to, but to really keep themselves balanced.
Mm-hmm. Really is huge. Any time you're choosing to be in a role of service, there are 3 things that I've learned along the way have become so incredibly critical. So it absolutely applies to this group we're speaking to. And that is, 1, to initiate and always maintain a consistent presence practice.
Mm-hmm.
2 is to prioritize self-care. And 3 is to just always be in the mindset of learning and growth with what you do.
So let's start off with establishing a presence practice. Now, something that I used to do, and you can definitely give me some tips, and I actually learned this from my yoga instructor.
Nice.
But when I was doing facials, a lot of times it's really easy, especially if it's a treatment that you've done a million times, you can just kind of do it with your eyes closed. It's really easy to start thinking about what you're going to make for dinner, or, the 10 different errands that you need to run and that you have to stop by the post office box on the way home. And your patients or your clients can feel that energy. They can feel if you're not present.
Yep.
And so what I started doing was just repeating this mantra in my head. I love you. I want the best for you. I want this treatment to heal your skin. I would just kind of repeat these different things over and over that would keep me focused on my client. So is that good? Is that bad? Like, what do you have to say?
Huge. That is huge, because I do want to bring in 2 different perspectives. One would be just a general presence practice for your life that is going to put you in a better position to share energy with other people. Mm-hmm. Then to have a specific presence practice for every time you go in to serve another human being is, I think, equally as important, which is something that you've implemented, and that is amazing. So to back it up to the more general approach, there are 3 things within this one idea, and it's kind of how you start your day, how you end your day, and then finding something in the middle. And I've learned from multiple different teachers over the years, and when it comes to a morning presence practice, this is something I learned from the amazing author and thought leader, Marianne Williamson. I had done a weekend training with her, and she said these words that stuck with me. She said, before your feet even hit the floor and the modernity of the world hits you, just take a couple of minutes. And it can be a couple of minutes where you close your eyes and do nothing more than focus on your breath maybe bring to the forefront of your mind a few things that you are grateful for. Even as simple as, I am grateful that I have this bed, this comfortable pillow, these covers over my body, this roof over my head. It can be, that simple, and it can be the same each morning. Just bring that to life for yourself, to be able to bring yourself fully present for the beginning of your day before you start diving into, emails and phone calls and text messages and so on and so forth. And we're talking 2 to 5 minutes. And then at the end of the day, this was a huge takeaway I had from Dr. Wayne Dyer, who I think is with us right now, because his spirit's just always...
He's an amazing man. He lived on Maui, which is where my family is from. And I had the opportunity to meet him just randomly. I met him in a Barnes & Noble bookstore, and he walked up to me and he pinched my cheek. I was like 25 years old, and he just pinched my cheek, grabbed my face, and kind of patted my cheek. And he said, "Well, aren't you beautiful?" And it was just this like amazing thing. And he told me that I reminded him of his granddaughter, or and I was just like, wow. And then that was it. And it was just this, like, you can really feel when someone's being present with you, because it was just right there for those 3 minutes. I was the only person in the world. And I had, it was something that really stuck with me.
Yeah. My first trip ever to Hawaii was to Maui, and I was going to do a weekend event with Wayne Dyer. And what's so funny is I scheduled myself to fly in Friday and fly home Monday morning. And I'd never been to Hawaii before. And everyone was like, "Okay, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm going to Maui for a workshop." And they're like, no. Why are you just going for the workshop and coming home? Like, why wouldn't you extend that stay? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm just going to a workshop because I love Wayne Dyer. And then I'll never forget when I arrived in the Maui airport, there's just such magic in the air that I was just like, oh, I get it. I should have come early. I should have stayed later.
They call the island Mother Maui, because it's such a healing place. There's so many people that come there for various reasons, for different things in their life. And Maui just has such a healing energy. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. And I live on Oahu now. I love all of the Hawaiian Islands, but Maui I'm a Maui girl.
Yeah. Well, what he shared with us during this workshop, which was called I Am Light, which was amazing, is the importance of before you go to sleep at night. So we already talked about, before your feet hit the floor to start your day, before you go to sleep at night, as he would say, before you drift into sleep time, take another couple of minutes, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, and practice some gratitude. Think back on your day, silence your mind, focus on your breath, think back on your day, think of a couple of things that you are grateful for that day. Because when you enter into that, call it the subconscious or the non-physical, which is what we do when we're sleeping, the mindset that you have when you go into that is huge. And it is going to make a big difference on, everything, the night's sleep you get, how you wake up the next morning. And so kind of bookending your day with just a couple of minutes of centering yourself with your breath, and from a mindset standpoint, bringing your focus to gratitude, appreciation. And then something really important I've learned over the years is the importance of having some kind of presence practice during your day. And this is just a gift that you give yourself to, in some way, shape, or form, refuel your inner being. For many, it's meditation. And a lot of times people think meditation and presence practice are synonymous. They're not. Presence practice just means finding a way to practice being in the moment. And so for many, meditation can be a tremendous opportunity to do that. And there are lots of different ways to meditate that you can Google, from guided to breath meditation, mantra meditation, on and on. But there's another concept that's called finding flow. And in modern positive psychology, flow just means being so involved and so focused on what you're doing in the moment that you lose track of space and time, because what you're doing is so enjoyable and you're so engrossed in it. And so for some people, it's gardening. For some people, it's sewing. For some people, it's running. Definitely not me. For me, it's hiking, or it's practicing and or teaching yoga. It's being so involved and connected to what's happening in the moment that you're just fully present. And for you and the estheticians out there, it could very well be that when you're with your client, when you're with your patient, that is something that is a cup filler and a gift that you give to yourself that brings you to the present moment. But one thing that I've noticed when it comes to our work, that you can also implement something similar to what you were talking about that you already do, that brings you into that space of flow before you enter into the room with your client. And I actually implemented it many, many years ago, and I've shared it with many teachers since, that I do before I go in to teach. It takes less than 2 minutes. I find a quiet space, close my eyes, again, take a couple of breaths to just center into the moment. And then the first thing you want to do is ask yourself a question. Why do I do this?
Mm-hmm.
Why did I even get into this? And the moment you ask yourself that question, the answers will bubble up, because I want to help people, because I want to make people feel good, because I want to be a light in their day. I mean, the list can go on. And then you say to yourself 3 times, I don't have to do this. I get to do this.
Oh,
Because
I love
so
that.
often when we're heading into work, and especially in a role of service where we're going to be giving of energy, it's like, okay, I got to go do this now. No, you don't. You get to go do this now. You made a conscious choice to step into this role, this industry, and it's a privilege to be able to be in service of other people. So if you just remind yourself before you step into the space, I don't have to do this. I get to do this. So first you remind yourself why you got into it to begin with. And then you remind yourself that it's not a have to, it's a get to. It's a privilege. I've noticed that for me, not only does that bring me into the moment, I find myself just in flow, hoping it never ends, but I also am in such a positive mindset of appreciation for what I get to do.
Yeah, I've noticed that since I've become a mom, which I have at the time we're recording this, my daughter is 11 and a half months old. A lot of these practices have really clicked for me. You know, I think that I've always been interested in this kind of stuff, and for work, I've always kind of just done, you know, like my yoga teacher told me to do this to be present. And I would just kind of do it, but I didn't really get it, I guess.
Yes.
And with my baby, my daughter, she's had a lot of trouble sleeping. And that is our biggest struggle. And she just sometimes at night will scream bloody murder before I can get her to bed. And it's been a real challenge. But what my husband and I, what we have been saying is, at least she's breathing, at least she's healthy. We're grateful that she, has lungs. We're grateful that she, it's a struggle that we're going through this, but we know that it's a moment, and we're trying to focus on all of the positive things, because as so many moms out there know, anytime that a healthy baby is born, it's a miracle. I mean, there's so many things that can go wrong. And so thinking about that, and then thinking about the problems, or quote unquote problems, that we say that we have, are such first world problems. And there's such we don't worry about putting food on the table. We don't worry about having a roof over our heads. We have, a solid family unit, that's really, like, we have so much stuff to be grateful for. And so I feel like my family has really solidified that piece for me, which has then gone into my work. That's amazing. So it's really, you talk about work-life balance and, but the kind of overall sense of who you are and what you're doing in a day-to-day basis with this presence practice. It not only benefits your work life, but it also benefits your home life.
There's literally no way to have it benefit one and not the other. And you're so spot on with what you described, because it really is all about perspective. We always have a choice of where we're going to focus our thoughts, and where we focus our thoughts is where our energy goes. And it makes all the difference in the world when you make that, subtle shift to focusing on what you have to be appreciative for. So good for you. That's incredible.
Yeah, I'll be excited when she sleeps, but
right.
But
my little guy's 5.5 now, so other than the fact that he always wants to climb into bed with mommy and then kick her to death, he's doing quite well now.
Okay, so that was establishing a presence practice is tip number one
Yep.
for those in a service industry. Number two,
Mhm.
we were going to talk about
What?
prioritizing self-care.
Oh my goodness, this one is so important to me. And I've noticed that as I've made this a priority for me, and as I've encouraged others who are in roles of service to make it a priority for them, just amazing things happen, because it is incredibly easy to fall into the trap when you're in the service industry of getting burned out, of
Mhm.
getting fatigued, of getting then frustrated, and then being challenged with what it is that you do, because now work is work. And what it boils down to is that if you're going to be in a role of service, you have to take great care of yourself. You have to. So back in, I think it was 2007, I had gone to a conference. It was called Celebrate Your Life. And do you know who Ayanna Bonsant is?
She does stuff with Oprah, right?
She does. So
Yeah.
she was originally Oprah's spiritual coach. So
Okay.
Oprah used to have like a Dr. Phil day, a Dr. Oz day, and then like an Ayanna day. And
Hmm.
then they had like a spat and didn't speak for a while. And then they made up, and all's well now. And now Ayanna and Oprah work together all the time. But she had written some books, and I went to see her speak live. And as she began her lecture, she was talking about the importance of service.
Hmm.
And she's like, we were put on this earth to be of service to each other. Every day we wake up, we should ask, how may I be of service? And everything she was saying, I was just like internally high-fiving her. And I'm like, yes, yes, this is all I came to hear. This was the validation I needed, even though I was feeling so drained and burned out from that mindset. I
Hmm.
was like, yes, okay, it's all worth it. This is someone I respect, and she's telling me that my mindset is the right one. You're to be in service, put everyone before you. That's the way it's supposed to be. And then she said, but don't get me wrong. And there was this dramatic pause. I'm like, okay, sitting up. I'm like, okay, what? And then she said words that, Danielle, I seriously considered getting tattooed on my bum. I still might, I don't know. But she said to me, not to me, well, I felt like she said it to me and the other 1,000 people in the room, but she said, may my cup runneth over, so that I may serve and give freely from it. But what's in the cup is mine, and don't you dare touch it. And as she said that, like, it wasn't just a light bulb. It was like hundreds of light bulbs going off in my mind, where she then got into how important it is. And I've continued to learn this over the years, how important it is to fill your cup first. And part of that's going to happen with even the presence practice, right? Because you're finding things that you enjoy and that keep you centered, and that are gifts to you to up your energy in this game of life. But making sure that you do things that you find enjoyable and you find fun. Go watch the sunset, get your toenails painted, go for a walk, play with your kids, make sure you make time for the things that fill your
And
cup,
I,
so
I
that it
tell
runs over.
estheticians too, get a treatment.
Yes. Oh my
We
God.
are like giving, constantly giving facials. But when was the last time that you received a facial? It's one of the, it's just as important to receive as it is to give, because not only do you get to feel, it feels amazing to get a facial,
Mhm.
gives you this kind of rejuvenation, but it also, like, it still is a teaching thing as well, because you can remember what the experience that your patient or client is going through.
Mhm.
So what do you do to fill your cup?
So for me, it's getting out in nature. I love, hiking, walking, um, practicing yoga, and getting my toes painted.
Beautiful.
And massage. Oh my goodness, massage.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've gotta make sure I get that in on a regular basis. That just kind of fuels my body back up. But yeah.
Yeah. For me, I love watching sunset. I think
Mhm.
that we live a 12-minute walk from Lanikai Beach, which is one of the most beautiful beaches on Oahu. And when my husband gets home in time for sunset, well, they don't really have sunset on this side of the island, but we live on the east side of the island. So the sunset's on the
Okay.
other side, but it's still that, for me, just like recharges me so much to be able to go walk on the beach,
Mm-hmm.
just talk with my husband, about just fun things, not about work, not about our daughter, not about our, we can talk about our daughter if it's, but just doing something that it's like pretending like we're on a date on a long walk on the beach or something.
Love that. Love that.
But yeah, it can be something as simple as allowing yourself to take a nap or watching your favorite TV show without feeling guilty, or reading a book for pleasure. There's so many different things that you can do to really recharge yourself. And it is something that's so true. And you hear it over and over again, but it's something that you have to take action on. And I think as women, in the aesthetics industry, I would say about 99% of the providers are female.
Mm-hmm.
And we just tend to be overgivers. We put, especially in aesthetics, because so many, if you ask people why they got into this field, it's to help people, to build women up, to make people feel confident about themselves. So many of the estheticians, they had skin issues themselves, and they, so it is this really wanting to serve and please and help other people. But, and I'm sure it's similar in the yoga industry, or the fitness, but we do have to do those little things. Like, don't underestimate how important they are. I totally agree with you on
Well,
that.
if you think about, if the perspective is, I want to help people, I want to be of service, one of the best gifts you can give them is you showing up with a full cup. And
Mm-hmm.
so, whereas often people who are service minded think of it as selfish to go do all those things, and you listed so many great things, and it's different for everybody. You just have to find what works for you, what fills your cup, what recharges you.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, if you do want to be of service, if you want to be a positive advocate for other people, you have to first be a positive advocate for yourself, period.
Mm-hmm.
Or else you're not
Absolutely.
honoring them as well as you could.
Absolutely. All right, you guys, you hear that? That is the challenge. I challenge you to do all three of these. We're going to get into number 3 here just in a second, but that is the challenge. Do something for yourself. Don't let that, go to the back burner. All right. So number 3, we have the maintaining a mindset of learning and growth. I love that.
Mm-hmm. So this one is really, I always say this is huge. To me, they're just such huge components to us finding success and fulfillment in what we do.
Mm-hmm.
And this one for me has been a really important part of my life, my upbringing, because this was a mindset that was instilled in me through my mother. She always used to say, Kimberly, you are always either green and growing or ripe and rotting. But here's the good news. Every single morning you got out of bed, you get to decide which one you're going to be.
I love
And
that.
stuck with me. Yeah, you're either green and growing or you're ripe and rotting. You get to decide what's it going to be. And there are many, quotes out there about, continuing to learn and grow. And the moment you start learning, you start dying, that kind of thing. And it's not quite as dramatic as that. But the fact of the matter is that to maintain an interest in what we do, it is important that we continue to evolve. And so
Right.
it's simple as always being on the lookout, always having your eyes and ears open for just opportunities for learning, for growth, for getting better at what you do. So often people, they get their initial training, their initial certification or credentials, and then they stop there. They focus on taking what they've learned and now going and doing the job. But another great way that you can take care of yourself and in turn give so much more to your clients and your patients is to honor the fact that you are still a student, and always be in the mindset of being a student on the lookout for, the right courses, the right teacher, the right workshop, the right group, the right experience that you can learn from. And sometimes those experiences are going to be energizing, cup filling, fun experiences. And sometimes they're going to be the kind that challenge you and stretch you. But either way, it's all good, because it's about this growth and evolution that you get to make along the way and continue to get better and better at what you do. So I think it's so incredibly important.
That's one of my favorite things about the aesthetics industry is, when I got into this industry, Botox was new. It was
Oh,
it
goodness.
was new being used cosmetically. It had been used
Mhm.
medically for, several years before, but it was relatively new on the scene. And now it's one of the most widely used treatments in the world. And it's, there is always something new to learn. There's always a new technology coming out. There's always a new ingredient, there's there in our career, there. And then those are the fun things to learn, I think, for a lot of the
Mhm.
aesthetic professionals. The unfun things, or the things that maybe will just test your limits,
Yeah.
is really diving in. Now it's like, how do I market my business? How do I learn these new
Mhm.
things? How do I learn Facebook ads? How do I learn all this stuff? As a provider, we're thinking, I want to be in there with my client or patient. I want to be in there doing, learning the skin. But to be able to get to do that job, like you were
Mhm.
saying, you have to push yourself, and you have to learn these things to either, how to do it to run a viable business so that you can continue your clients coming in, or you hire someone else to do it so that you can get people in. But you have to change with the times. You have to learn those new skills, those new techniques. But I think it doesn't have to be just business related or skin related. I think learning anything new.
Yes. Go dive into personal growth.
Yeah.
That, that's another area where when you dive into personal growth, you don't realize how much it's going to affect you professionally, but it will, and how much those you serve are going to be affected by the fact that you're doing some awesome self discovery. It's pretty impactful.
But even I remember so one of my favorite things to do, and one of my biggest releases, is dancing tango.
Oh,
And that's actually how I met my husband.
nice.
And when I was probably 24 or 25, Maui doesn't have a whole lot to do at night. And, I'm not a big like drinker, like someone that goes to
Mhm.
bars or anything like that. But at that time in my life, I was very much like, I didn't want to go to bed at 9 o'clock, like,
Mhm.
most people do on Maui. And so I got really involved with tango dancing, and I was dancing like 5 nights a week, and it was
Wow.
so much fun.
Mhm.
And so I ended up going to a tango conference in Denver. That's where I met my husband. My life just kind of took this whole other turn. But that is one of the ways that I fill my cup. That's one of the ways that I challenge my brain to
Mhm.
do something where it's mental and physical. And it's never too late to learn some other skill, some other thing that you can do that's healthy, or even dive into a book series or something that
Mhm.
you like. I remember for a while I got really into historical fiction, and I was like obsessed with learning about Henry VIII and all of his wives and all of so it's whatever interests you, just kind of go down that path, and have fun with it.
I've always believed that there is a reason that any desire or interest is placed on our heart. And when you feel it bubble up, follow it. And so often we talk ourselves out of it. So often if it's professional or business related, we talk ourselves out of it. We basically kind of beat the desire down with our doubt and our worry and such. But even something that's more personal or not necessarily professionally focused, we still tend to just say, no, I don't have time for that. No, it's not important. It's important if it bubbled up. So if it bubbled up, you had a desire to learn tango. You followed that desire, you met your husband, and by the way, we're going to need to see a video of you doing tango. Side note. But when those interests and desires bubble up, I truly believe that, the universe has our back, and they have bubbled up for a reason. So I
So
always encourage people to follow that.
do you think that's our intuition, or what do you think that is?
It is, some call it intuition, some call it that our source energy speaking to us, or even our heart speaking to us. And it's interesting because, and that's why having that quiet time can be so incredibly impactful in your life, because it is, as it's been labeled, that small, still voice that resides within. And the reason that it's such a small, still voice is because it's not a voice like we're used to hearing. It's not audible.
Mm-hmm.
It's a voice that you hear because it's that you feel because it's vibrational.
Mm-hmm.
And I really do think it is that. And, call it intuition, call it your spirit, your heart speaking to you. I honestly think it's all the same, but it's our inner being kind of speaking to us to help us get the most out of this life, to live in the fullness of who we are, so that we can experience this life in the fullness of all that it has to offer.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. So to recap, you guys, we have 3 things that you can be doing to keep your cup full. We had developing a presence practice, prioritizing self-care, and keeping a mindset of learning and growth. And if you do those things, take 10 minutes out of your day. And, if you don't have 10 minutes, you're doing something wrong in your business, in your life. Give yourself that time to do that, and you will see the difference in your business and in your personal life. So we'll go ahead and make sure that we have all the important links in the show notes. Kimberly, anything you wanted to add before this episode is done, just to make it complete?
I just want to share this one other thing, because often, I'm sure there are those out there listening thinking, oh, that sounds great, but I am too busy.
Mm-hmm.
And you're never too busy to take the steps that you need to take to get the most out of your life. And I always think back to an interview with Russell Simmons. And if you're not familiar with who that is, he's like a hip hop mogul, billionaire, like not flies, but rides in a jet everywhere he goes, because he's, catapulted himself up to such a high level. Super busy guy, owns multiple businesses, and he was being interviewed one time, and he does yoga and he meditates for a minimum of 20 minutes every single day. So that's his presence practice that he's chosen. And the interviewer asked him, Russell, you are like the busiest guy I know. You're constantly all over the place. You own multiple businesses that you're the CEO of. And, how do you find the time to meditate? That's insane to me. And Russell responded with a laugh. And he said, are you kidding? I am so busy, I can't afford not to meditate. And so I would just say, try this stuff for, 30 days. And what you may find at the end, if you challenge yourself, is that you're so busy, you don't have time to not do these things, to be able to get the most out of everything that you are doing in your life.
That reminds me of a similar response from Deepak Chopra. And he said, he meditates for like an hour a day.
Mm-hmm.
He said, when I'm busy, I meditate for an hour a day. When I'm really busy, I meditate for 2. And it's like, we know these things, but to actually do it. So take action. I'm going to commit to that challenge. We actually, Kimberly and I share the same business coach, and he's challenged us just to a 7-day challenge. And my commitment was to have an hour a day, every single day of this 7-day challenge of me time. And that was for me to read a book, take a nap. I think I wrote, sit on the couch and eat bonbons if I want to. Just to do whatever the heck I want to do, because I know that is so important. And I know I'm going to see a difference in my business and in my life. So awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. I'm so appreciative of you. You guys, we're going to link up how you can stay connected with Kimberly in our show notes. If you're in the LA area, you can go to one of her yoga classes, or if you're a teacher, check out her Make a Difference Academy. Lots of different ways to follow her, to see what she's doing, how she is making a difference in this world. So thank you guys so much for listening, and I will see you in the next episode.